On this episode of Hands on Cars, Matt puts new bedsides on Project Pilehouse before we go to the SEMA show in Las Vegas to see the awesome 2,000 horsepower Maximus Charger and the Eastwood Hands On Award winner.
Hey guys, I'm Kevin Tates and you're watching Hands on Cars. This is Project Z Sled. And no, you can't see it. We're gonna keep it under wraps. But trust me, we've got a lot of work done on the body work. We're into priming and block sanding, and we're gonna show you all of those details. But we're taking a bit of a break with Hands on Cars on Project Z Sled, and we're gonna show you something really, really cool. Now, if you've watched any of the Eastwood videos, you've probably seen Project Pilehouse. It's a 1950 Dodge that's had all kinds of cool custom treatment. The top's been chopped. There's a new firewall put in it. There's a awesome hand-built one-off bomber seat. And some of the guys up in the R&D center at Eastwood are going to show you how to make new bedsides for a project like this using Eastwood Fab Tools. So it's an amazing project. You got to check it out. Oh, and by the way, these are the wheels for Project Z Sled. These are billet aluminum, and they're 41 inches of contact patch between the car and the road. And no, you can't see them either, but trust me, it's going to be worth the wait, because what we do with these things, it's going to really, really make the car, and it's going to be true to the rendering and be a fantastic upgrade. So hang in there, have patience, trust me on this, because you're going to love what you see on Project Z Sled. But in the meantime, check out Pilehouse. It's awesome.
It's been a while since we've done a video update on Project Pilehouse, but I've been busy getting the interior, the steering, and the brakes sorted on the truck. Now that the front end is becoming pretty darn solid, it's become increasingly obvious that we need to address the carcass of the original bed on the truck. You may remember a few years ago when we showed you how we lengthened the original bed and built a new floor frame. Now, what we didn't show you was how rusty the original bed was. The original tailgate was literally falling off of the truck, and the bottoms of the fenders looked like Swiss cheese. I decided to make a custom bed basically from scratch. I've already finished one side so that you guys can get an idea of what the final product's going to look like. The biggest change that I wanted to make was to ditch these boring, boat trailer style rear fenders in favor of something with a little more shape. Our friends over at AMD hooked us up with a set of 47 to 55 Chevy pickup rear fenders, and in the end this is going to save us a ton of time and not having to source and repair an original set of fenders. The materials needed to do this project are pretty minimal. We've started with a sheet of 18 gauge steel, 1.5 inch chromoly tubing for the top, and the AMD rear fenders. The rest of the magic is in the layout and the tools used to create it all. Along the way, we're going to show you some tips and tricks while we build this second bedside. So let's get started. I began by marking the sheet metal for the wheel opening and the lines that I plan to bend and cut. Then I notched the bottom of the AMD Chevy fenders so they would sit down onto the running boards. After cutting out the wheel opening, I used clecos to temporarily set the bedside in place. I then laid out the design we'd be following on the bead roller. that the side panel was so large, I recruited some extra hands around Eastwood to help out with rolling the beads. Prototype Eastwood forming dies were used to recreate the finished, factory-pressed look that I was looking for. Careful layout and steady hands will only get you so far when you're running long, straight beads in a panel. The Eastwood bead roller fence bolts to the frame and allows you to run the edge of the panel against the guide to give you laser straight lines every single time. Don't be afraid to tack weld some scrap metal to your guide to run beads closer to the edge than the tool would normally allow. Out of the box, this bead roller will handle most projects you can throw at it. With a little modification though, the possibilities are endless. If you need to run a lot of long, straight beads in your panels, then this tool right here, it's really a no-brainer. After a quick test fit, the fender and side panel were where I had traced, and it was time to take the bedside down to our friends at Palladino Metal Fabrication. There we were able to use their 20-foot brake to put the bend along the entire top of the bedside. For this build, I wanted to weld a piece of round tubing to the top of the bedside for structure and appearance, and knew if I had planned ahead, I could minimize the grinding to the welds. To achieve this, I needed to grind a valley into the tubing for the panel to lie in. This valley had to be as straight as possible, so we decided to clamp a piece of angle iron onto the tubing so we had something for the grinder to run against. After a few passes, we had a nice, perfectly straight valley that we could lay the sheet metal and the weld puddle in. The result is flush panel fitment with minimal need for grinding. With the bedside reinstalled and the tubing notched, we clamped it in place and ran short welds from one end to the other, slowly working any excess slack out of the metal. To keep the bedside supported and clean, I cut and welded in box tubing on the inside of each corner. With the bedsides coming together, I couldn't bear leaving the rear of the bed untouched. So Mark and I threw together a roll pan using the English wheel and the shrinker stretcher to form it. Using the Eastwood aviation snips, I cut off the excess from the bottom rear corner of the bed, then used the fair mount hammer and dolly set to tip the edge and give a contour that matched the roll pan. The last portion of the bed to make was the front panel. We decided to make a two-piece front panel that sandwiched box tubing uprights for rigidity. One panel down, one more to go. With both panels fitting properly, it was time to install the uprights. To top it off, I took another piece of tubing like we used on the bedsides and cut out the center so that it could slip over the front panels and sandwich the box tubing. The result is a clean, tight fit with no obvious welds or fasteners. Even though we didn't do very much welding on this seam right here, this tube is still a lot of weight to be hanging off the edge of the bed. Over time, this could cause paint to crack or the weld seam to potentially fail. I decided to make up a handful of these braces right here to support the bottom of the tubing to alleviate that issue. I cut out the rough shape using a set of Eastwood aviation snips, and then I sanded everything down for a perfect fit using the Eastwood belt sander. Finally, in the end, I drilled some speed holes to add some style to the function. With the fabrication of the bed almost complete, a set of 62 Olds 88 taillights mounted into the roll pan should really add a nice touch. It'll take a little more fabrication to blend the lights into the panel. With a lot of work and tons of help from others here at Eastwood, Project Pilehouse finally has a brand new bed. I still have a little more work to do to the roll pan and some minor adjustments to make to the bed, but I'd say this is a massive improvement over what we started with originally. Follow the Pilehouse build on the Eastwood blog to catch future updates. including making a custom floor and tailgate for this bed. Subscribe to our channel, or to catch up on previous updates, make sure you click the links right here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.
Hands on Cars is brought to you by the Eastwood Company. When you're restoring a car, truck, or motorcycle, Eastwood has everything you need to do the job right. Eastwood, since 1978.
Hey everybody, it's Matt from Eastwood Company. We're at SEMA 2014, and we're here with a car that's getting a ton of buzz this year. It's a car by Nelson Racing. It's called Maximus. It's in bare metal, and it's over 2,000 horsepower. We're with Sean from Empire Fabrication. Thanks for having us. Sean did a lot of the metal work on the car that you see that's in bare metal.
Well, it's got a Nelson Racing motor pushing 2,000 horsepower at 38 pounds of boost on race gas. On pump gas, it's pushing anywhere from 1,400 horsepower to 1,500 horsepower. And then he's got what he calls race fuel on demand. So as you give it more gas, it automatically shuts off the pump gas and turns into the race gas, kicking it up to 2,000 horsepower.
That's just ridiculous. So this thing has a crazy engine, but then it has a lot of crazy body modifications that you had your hands in doing some of.
Well, the main thing that you'll probably notice is the back of the car's been widened 6 inches. The wide body starts at the front of the door, and then as it goes back, it gets 3 inches wider right before the front tire, and then stays 3 inches all the way to the back. So the whole rear of the car was stretched 6 inches, the tail lights were pushed out, and the bumper was widened to match it.
Cool. So the obviously the bumpers fit a lot better than they did from the factory.
Yeah, the bumpers front and back have been both tucked and narrowed, and then remodified to fit the front corners, the fenders, and the rear quarters in the rear. And then the front apron has been modified to tuck up next to that front bumper. And then we added a nice little chin spoiler on it.
So this thing was metal finished last year, but you guys you were crunching right to the last minute to get this thing done. What happened?
Well, there was a few issues. The car was driven in the new Fast and Furious. It's going to be a hero car. When they drove it, some of the stuff wasn't quite done yet, and we had some wrinkling, so we had to re-metal finish a lot of the rear body. When I was doing it, I brought in my Eastwood Bullseye picks, which actually helped out a lot in the metal finishing. We just had a few little dents. I mean, with last year, there was a lot of people touching the car. A lot of little finger, dents, from the car. It's already a thin car, and then with the wide body, it just got a little bit thinner when we were metal finishing it all. So we used the Bullseye picks to pick up some of those lows, level out the body, and get it fully metal finished.
Eastwood TIG 200, wanted you to test it out. What's your thoughts on the TIG 200 once you got it?
The TIG 200, it's a really good welder. It's great for, a garage and a journeyman. I've been doing all my sheet metal welding with it, and it's been welding really nice. The welds are coming out, nice and flat, clean. It welds aluminum really well. I mean, there's not really enough settings that can confuse you, so if you're just learning how to TIG weld, it's a really good welder for you.
Oh, that's cool. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing this type of work with a TIG welder that's under $1,000. That's gives us all some hope. Cool. Well, thanks for talking to us about the car in the shop, and we'll catch you later. Thanks. Everybody, it's Matt from Eastwood Company. We're at SEMA 2014. We picked out 10 of our favorite cars and put it out to you, the customers, and let you decide which of yours was the favorite. We're with Jay from G3 Rods, and we're looking at this 37 Packard. Congratulations.
Thank you. Love you guys and your tools.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. What went into what's the history behind this car? How'd you guys get a hold of it?
We just got a shop in town called G3 Rods, and a customer come in with it, and this is going to be his third one we're going to build from him. And it just didn't work out for him, so we ended up buying it from him myself so we could just build it as a shop car.
I know a lot of these things I've seen, they're basket cases when people start with them. What kind of shape was this in when you originally got your hands on? Was it pretty rough?
No, it wasn't too bad. He got it out of a junkyard in Colorado, and it wasn't too bad. It still had the original blue paint on it. It'd been wrecked a little bit, but nothing bad. Your normal little rust spots, but it was in really nice shape to start out with.
Obviously it's been modified quite a bit. It's been chopped, You know, it's been set on a different chassis. Can you, what's some of the big modifications you guys did to get the, you know, the beautiful lines?
Like you said, we wedge chopped it 1.5 inches in the front there, channeled it, put it on an Art Morrison chassis so it sit down nice and low. AccuAir air management systems on it and everything. A lot of people said trying to figure out what it is, you know, like you said, if you know a Packard grill, you know it, but a lot of them can't quite put their finger on what it is. So we just built our own dash and put a classic instruments gauge in the middle there, and it's a 39 Ford bench seat in there, cut it down to fit in there and everything. And a good friend of ours, Dan Weber at Weber's Custom Interiors, put the all white leather interior in there for it.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and you know, all new floors, of course, and everything.
Right,
so.
right. How long has the car been done? You know, is this something you guys just finished up?
No, this one's been done for about 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
We probably got about 1,000 miles, somewhere right in there on it. And we just been, this is probably about its last show, really. We might take it to Detroit just so we can go there one time. But
right.
This is probably about the end of it for showing it anywhere, I think. So.
You know, a lot of metal work went into this thing, and I know you mentioned that you guys had a little bit of Eastwood tools around. What kind of Eastwood tools did you end up using on this project?
We use like the throatless shear, tons of clecos, of course, and everything. And we got various hammers, dollies, shrinker stretchers, just
cool.
your normal, just metal fabrication tools. And you know, we buy a lot from Eastwood. They're a good price, they're good value for what they are. They've been in the shop for 5 years, 6 years, and they're still holding up.
Oh,
so
that's
can't beat that.
Yeah, thanks for being an Eastwood customer. Really appreciate it. We can't wait to you know, see what happens with the car from here on.
Yeah.
And good luck in Detroit.
All right,
Thanks, man.